People who have worked the drive-thru, what's the weirdest thing you've seen in someone's car? Does a naked man with bags from Burger King and Taco Bell already count as a thing? That is the most thing to ever be considered a thing. The driver had a comically large dildo in the passenger seat. He'd buckled it in and put a hat on it. Did he order a separate Happy Meal for his dildo? Charlie, that you. My cousin worked at a Chick-fil-A and once saw a double dong in some girl's passenger seat once. He noted it had red smears and clots on one end. Some people are just effing nasty. Probably taking his son-in-law out for a burger. I was working a McDonald's drive-thru in a small town in Michigan. This truck goes through, pays and pulls forward to get its meal. Then a chicken jumps out of the back. I yell for the next car in line to stop, but she looks confused and ends up running over the chicken. It's not dead, but it's a wreck. She looks at me and we're both in tears. She says she has to and I say no. She puts it on reverse and backs over the chicken again. Another employees had to get a shovel and scoop up the dead chicken from the drive-thru. Till, how McDonald's sources chicken McNuggets. At least they're fresh. That's just heartbreaking. This is what happens with a lot of animals when people are hunting. The goal is to kill them quick so they don't suffer. If they're going to kill something, most people try to do it right. The entire car was filled with trash. Like legitimately up to ceiling in the back seat and up to shoulder height in the passenger seat. I was so stunned I nearly forgot to give them their food. Worked in IT with a guy whose car was like that. Had seen the car in the parking lot many times, but was like a year before I saw him get in it. He was nuts, but didn't realize he was that kind of nuts. And he sat one cube away. It honestly makes me sad. Like, cars get messy sometimes, but what leads to that level of trash and nasty stuff piling up? Crippling depression. My little sister used to work at a local Wendy's. A woman came through the drive-thru one day with either a pet or a service animal. That animal happened to be a monkey. My random animal was a goat. Someone pulled a gun on my brother because the salsa containers weren't completely full. You can get as many as you want for no extra charge. Damn, that person must really love salsa, I guess. I used to see someone come through with a lifelike mannequin in their passenger seat. I asked about it and turns out they did it to use the commuter lanes on the highway. You must have more than one person in the car or cop a fine. That's super illegal. Not worth the risk. Wonder what he did with the extra 5 minutes added to his life. Made tender yet quick love to his wife. Ram-lamb twins. Once, a bull calf. To be clear, I took them through the drive-thru as a hilarious cautionary experience. The Ram-lamb twins' mom died and their owners were scheduled to go to a big reunion, so I had lambs in my bathtub at night for a week. It seemed a little sad not to share them with others, so we went to the McDonald's on the way home. People in the drive-thru thought they were weird poodles until they went bah. It's a memory I'll cherish. Not the same twins, but the same farm, and same type of hair sheep. There is one guy who drives a hearse. It was a car that ran well and he could afford it. So when a teenager pulls up to the window in his hearse, you get a little shocked. I also saw someone with a chicken. Complete with a harness and leash. It was cute. A 50-year-old man with Down syndrome playing with his willy in the passenger seat while his aide picked up his meds. He made eye contact with me the entire time. Unfortunately, there's no climax to this story, no pun intended. Closed the window and didn't say a word. There's a time and place for everything, but got to do what you got to do, I guess. No pun intended, I call bullcrap. You see some crazy things working at pharmacy in a low-income urban area. The pharmacy I worked at filled a bunch of government-subsidized care facilities prescriptions, differently abled patients, Suboxone clinic, etc. Interacted with some characters, to say the least. These two ladies with tons of tattoos and cigarettes came through, got their 2 McChickens, and as they were pulling away I saw there were balloons just crammed into the entire back half of the car. Just filled to the brim with balloons. Another time I was helping these 2 teen boys when I heard a quack from the back seat. That's the duck, one of them told me, followed by a honk from the back. And that's the goose. It's worth noting that they had just left a football game and come straw right to the drive-thru, so Lord only knows where the duck and goose were before that. Police officer, I told you already yesterday to bring them to the zoo. Driver, yeah, I did so. Yesterday we visited the zoo and today we watched the game. Was it Joey and Chandler? Not really weird, but there was a very large woman, no judgment, who would come through covered in sweat, I assume because it was summer and she didn't have AC in her car. And she stored her money in her bra. So when she went to pay you'd have to watch her pull soaking wet cash out from between her boobs and accept it from her without flinching. It also made me laugh when people would come through in $500 cars with $2,000 sound systems. Had a customer come through with a giant grandfather clock in the back seat? The thing was so huge it was sticking out the side window, which just so happened to be on the left side of the car. Which meant dude couldn't get close enough to the window to reach his food and had to step out, cursing the whole time. I don't know why, but to me this is the funniest comment in this thread. You've made my night, thank you. There was this really cute blonde girl that would always come through the drive-thru naked on Saturday nights. Every now and then she would have another friend with her. We always knew when it was her by the constant giggles coming from her car as she ordered. We always had weird customers, being it was the world's largest McDonald's located in Orlando, Florida. An order for 88 Big Macs or 120 cheeseburgers was not out of the ordinary though. How much time does that require? 88 Macs is 176 patties. Clamshell grills now can handle 24 10-to-1 patties, 10 to a pound. And most places will have 2 of those set for 10-to-1. About 3 minutes from laying them to taking them off and boxing them. So, maybe 12 minutes for the max if they don't run out of toppings and have to restock in the middle. The cheeseburgers are quicker than a Mac by a bit, as dressing the buns and wrapping them is quicker. So maybe 120 is about the same 12 minutes as 88 Macs. They did the McMath. Had a drunk guy come through drive-thru. A cop car was in line right behind him. Told the cops about the drunk guy, he was blitzed and was going to kill someone. Cops said they knew as they were planning on pulling him over before he turned in and went to the drive-thru. They decided they were hungry and decided to get food too before pulling him over. They stayed at the back window and had us give them their food first so they could follow him out. Pulled him over in the parking lot. Was kind of entertaining. Story time. I was working the drive-thru at Carl's Jr. one evening as a very innocent 17-year-old. It was pretty close to closing time, sometime after 10 p.m. A car pulled up and some slightly slurred speech said something I didn't fully understand, but I heard the word food, and since it was the drive-thru it seemed like a safe assumption that they wanted to order food. It's not typical to ask if they can order food first, but I replied sure, go ahead when you're ready. They proceeded to order 4 people's worth of food and I gave them their total. What happened next was not something I was remotely prepared for. 4 slightly overweight to very overweight middle-aged women pulled up in their car, all completely topless. As sheepishly avoided looking I repeated their total and one of them loudly reiterated what I hadn't fully heard initially. We said we want to trade some tits for some food. Hold on a minute, I replied. I then walked back to where my manager was currently preparing their food. He asked if there was a problem and I said kind of, they need to talk to you. I'll wash up and take over for you here. I'm pretty sure he picked up on my distress and didn't argue or ask any more questions. By the time I finished washing my hands he came back with a slightly annoyed look and told me I should just finish making their order and he would pass it out to them. I'm not sure if they paid or not, but I'm guessing my manager just wrote off the order so they would leave and no longer be our problem. We then had a decent laugh about it, but I was pretty horror-stricken at the time. Bring the machete. We are cutting some boobs to trade. I want my pound of flesh. Either the guy sitting with a dog in his passenger seat and a coyote and a deer chilling in the back, or the woman wearing just a bra, but that one is more traumatizing. Were the coyote and deer alive? Worked part-time in a KFC just after I left school. I quit like 2 months later though. Anyway, I'm the one handing out the food, and as he's grabbing it I notice something quite weird on the passenger seat. When he turned away to put the drinks down before I gave him the food, I had a quick look and saw a tied up rope. Bit weird, but okay. He turned back around to me to get his food and then turned with his back to me, and I look around the whole car this time, and in the back seat behind the passenger seat is what looked to be hair. At first I thought it was dog fur, but it wasn't at all that thick. It was very thin, blonde hair. I didn't really get a good glimpse before he turned back around. I didn't want him to see me inspecting his car, and he said goodbye to me and drove away. I hope what I saw in the back was just a misunderstanding. However, this did give me the creeps for the next 2 months, and I was constantly checking the news to see if any updates about it came out. Funny thing is though, the guy behind him came up to the window and asked me if I was looking into his car, and I admitted to it, Lamau. But let's all just hope that what I saw there isn't what we're all thinking right now. Not me, but my sister. She worked usually some night shifts, and once there was a guy, he was like the typical neckbeard, in this old rusty Civic. He had a not safe for work body pillow on the passage seat. I want to tell you another thing. It was like 2 in the morning. Oh yeah, and he had a naked lolly on his sweaty t-shirt. And there was this awful smell coming out of his car, like someone took a crap after a Mexican dinner and sprayed it with full 2 cans of Axe body spray. My sister still remembers this odor. My sister still remembers this odor. Ah yes, Chanel no. 4chan. Thanks for watching. Comment on what you think was the best part of this video. Subscribing and hitting that notification bell on YouTube is a great way to get our content. You can also watch it on Facebook. A link to our page is in the description. See you soon.